Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Neil Pickup here with you, Supernatural Strength Channel. And we are going deep, deep inside with a very good friend of mine, Monster Michael Todd. He is a man that needs no introduction in the world of arm wrestling. This guy's accolades and achievements in the sport are vast and varied. But we are here to try and go more in depth than this guy's ever gone on an interview. You may be a lover, you may be a hater, you may be a bit of both, or swap between the two. But we want to give you a reason to love, a reason to hate, a reason to feel what you do about this man, and we're going to try and put it all out there. Michael, welcome to the show, mate.
Man, thanks for having me.
So, it's been a while that you've been doing this stuff, mate, and when we spoke before we came on, the idea here is that we tell everybody about you, dialed back and raw, from your beginnings in the sport, and we try and cover off every really significant part of your career as it's come up, the things that inspired you as a child. And that's probably a good place to start, Michael, in terms of at what age did you start to get involved in, and how did you first become involved in or interested in strength sport generally?
All right, so I'm from Arkansas, so kind of a redneck place, right? So we all grew up arm wrestling our dads and friends and stuff. So I remember when I was a young kid, my dad would be sat back in his recliner, and I'd have him put his arm up there, and I'd get up there, and I'd just try as hard as I could. And that's really how it started for me, man. I was real competitive growing up. I mean, active kid. Played a lot of sports, but I didn't really play them in school. Like, I played football up to like 9th grade, and then, maybe half the 10th grade, and then I quit. I basically was a short, chubby kid, and then I hit a growth spurt. And at that time, I was like, there's a lot more out here that I could be doing instead of playing sports. I was chasing girls, right? So I was like, hey, I'm good. I'm going to go do that. And, but yeah, I started as a kid competitively in martial arts. I saw Karate Kid. And I told my dad I had to take karate. So they got me into Shotokan karate. I took that for 3 years. Then I switched over to Taekwondo. And by the time I was 14, I had my black belt, and I was competing in the adult class, and was pretty competitive, man. I mean, I was watching the Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon, so I'm holding up boards and punching one hand and snapping them. And it was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun doing that. And
how big you were at that age, Mike? At 14, were you quite? When you say
I was 5'2", 150. I was a little chubby kid, man.
Okay, so even at 14, you were
splits up against the wall, though. I mean, I could go up against the wall and do a split. So I was a very proficient martial artist. And then between the summer, I went to a small school, 50 people in my graduating class, and within the summer, I went from 5'2", 150 to 5'9", 130. So I came back to school and to orientation, like, who's the new kid? Because they didn't recognize me. So at that point, man, I got interested in weight training, and the next year I was like 6'1", 175, and I graduated 6'3", 215. But so by the time I was 15 years old, that's when I finally beat my father. I beat my father for the first time. Now, I don't know if he let me or whatever, but I beat him.
How big was your dad, Mike?
My dad was like 6'1", probably 220 at the time. I think when he was in high school, he's probably 6'1", 185, something like that. But yeah, the crazy thing is my grandmother, my mother's mother, was 4'11", right? But she had worked hard her whole life, just grew up, gardening, working on a farm, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember them telling me that when my dad was in his 40s, my 4'11" grandmother could beat him in arm wrestling. And I remember distinctly when I was 14 years old, my I don't even know how old she was at the time, but my 4'11" grandmother could beat me in arm wrestling and then go out in the street with grandma's shoes on and outrun me in a 40-yard dash. It was crazy. I was like, that chick was awesome. I had a really strong grandmother, you know what I mean? Either that or I was really weak and really slow. I don't know what it was. But, yeah, so, man, I just always arm wrestled, right? And then I beat my dad, and then I got to where there's one kid in school that could beat me probably by the 11th grade. And he was a drummer, and he just had a strong wrist that I couldn't turn into a hook. So I never could hook him. And then by the time I was a senior, I could beat everybody. And I was in Votech, and they told me about a guy that was second in the state. Now, this is wrist wrestling where you lock your hands in the middle, you put over your forearm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, this guy over here second in the state. I'm like, well, let's do it. So we got on the cafeteria table, and I beat him. He's like, man, you should go to this tournament. And so that was September 1990, the Saline County Fair. So I showed up at that tournament, entered the 176 to 200-pound division, and I took third place.
Mm-hmm.
But I was hooked. Like, I mean, it was it. I loved this.
Had you sort of seen arm wrestling? I mean, did you catch the film Over the Top, for example? Had you seen anything?
Yeah, I watched Over the Top I liked Over the Top before I was even an arm wrestler, because I was just 14 years old or whatever, 13, 14 years old. Yeah. But once I got into wrist wrestling, I thought all the arm wrestling stuff was fake because I didn't know that there was outside arm wrestling. I thought it was all just inside arm wrestling. Yep. So I just thought the whole movie was fake. And, but yeah, so I took third. I came back home, and I had my buddy weld me up a table. Well, I didn't know the heights. So my table ended up being about 3 inches too tall because I was like almost 6'3" at the time. So it was made for me. So I just rigged up some stuff in my old garage and had some pulleys, and maybe it wasn't even pulleys. I think it might have been those old chest expanders with the springs.
Oh, yeah.
I had one of those up, and I would just pin it. That was actually my first ever injury, was one of those. I had flashed the spring down. I had 2 benches, and one was declined. I was pinning it past the pin, and I came back up real fast and pulled my tendon. That's the first injury I ever had, was on a damn spring. But yeah, so then I started holding tournaments at the boys club. I got pretty good. Ended up not losing for about a year or so. And then I guess about 2 years in, someone told me about an arm wrestling event. Now, at this point, I had already found out about McLean, Virginia, 1992 Nationals. So I already got a plane ticket. I'm going to the national championships. Well, a month before that was a tournament in Bossier City, BJ's Country. Now, I'm working at Acme Brick at the time, and I'm hacking brick. So that hacking brick stuff, it's 100 and something degrees. There's the keels next to you. It's hot, right? So I'm losing all kinds of weight. I think I'm down to like 191 or something. So I show up down there, and I'm going to pull the 198 class. Well, my first match was against Mark Maxey. And I had no idea what a top roll was. So ready to go, I try to hook, he flashes me outside. So I go on the B side of the bracket. Well, James Anderson, who I think was a US AWA national champion or whatever, him and Robert Redden pulled the first round. Well, Robert had been training for 3 years to beat James Anderson. And then at that event, round 1, he beats James, puts him in the B side. So it's his first ever time to beat James Anderson. James Anderson meets me the second round in the B side, and we go into a hook, which is where I was just country strong at, right? Back and forth, I elbow foul, back and forth, I pin the dude, and I put James Anderson out of the tournament. So they run up to me like, who's this new guy? What the hell? How'd you beat him? I'm like, I'm just really strong in a hook, So I told them that I was going to go to the national championships. They didn't really believe me. And then I was on my connection flight 4 weeks later, and Craig Touye and Robert Redden walk up to me. And I'm just sitting here waiting for my connection flight. They're like, hey, man, how you doing? So that's how I got hooked up with them. I went to 92 nationals. I weighed 178. So I made a sauna out of the bathroom to cut to 76. Ended up overcutting, made 174. And Cobra won that division that year. I think I took 7th. So that was my first experience to arm wrestling. It's the actual sport of arm wrestling, not wrist wrestling. It was August 1st, 1992. And then August 29th, I pulled the national championships in McLean, Virginia. And like I said, after that, I started driving down to Baton Rouge. I mean, once a month just to train with those guys.
And how far is that from you, mate?
Well, at the time, it was about a 7-hour drive.
Yeah, so it's a good run. So the bug sort of bit deeply.
Oh, I was 100% all in, man. I mean, I was working multiple jobs. So I was working as a night auditor, where I do the books at a hotel from, I think it's 6 to 10 a.m. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I'd get off, I'd drive home, eat breakfast, I'd drive to Little Rock, and I was helping build Martin Luther King Elementary just kind of as a work hand, right? And then I'd come home from that, and then on Fridays, I was working at a repo place for rent-and-own place. So I'd go out and repo people's TVs and refrigerators and stuff. And then I remember coming home from that, finishing up my job, jumping on, I had a 600 Ninja, and I drove it 7 hours down to Baton Rouge, probably 10 o'clock, got there about 5 in the morning, slept about 4 hours, pulled the arm wrestling tournament, pulled all day, drove home the next day. Just crazy stuff, man. You used to do stupid stuff back then.
And how old were you at that point, mate? What was your age then? So you'll have been what?
19.
Yeah, 19 years old. Only a kid.
Yeah. I was, like I said, my first event, I was 17 years old. Crazy thing about my first event, Saline County Fair, Rebecca, we didn't meet till we were 38. She was actually at that fair. So we could have met, 21 years earlier, you know what I'm saying? But I guess it just wasn't meant to be yet. But yeah, man, so that's how I got started. And then I kept pulling. I did fairly well. And then I was going to go to the sit-down national championships in Kansas City. Well, I was going to pull 198s, but I showed up and I'm 206. I'm like, crap. I don't want to cut. So I just pulled the 220s, and I ended up taking third. But the first place guy, I think it was first week, I decided to pass on going to the World Championships in Edmonton. So I ended up getting to go to Edmonton. And
isn't that where we met?
Probably, yes.
I think we met in Edmonton, 93. I think we did.
I believe we did. Something else that's funny, though. Okay, so I took third place at the AAA Nationals, sit-downs. The guy didn't qualify. He didn't go, so I qualified to go to Worlds. But between then and Worlds, Robert Redden and a couple guys drive up to Arkansas, and we hop in my Bronco 2, and we drive to Nags Head Beach, North Carolina for the Great American Shootout. They're supposed to pay $10,000 a class. The sponsor fell through. They only paid $1,000 a class. But Cleve Dean was there, Gary Goodrich, David Randall, John Brezink, Ron Bass, Steve Morneau. I mean, just crazy deep tournament. I was watching that one of y'all things the other day with you, Devin, and Ingen and John.
Okay.
We're talking about older tournaments, and I was thinking about that tournament. That's one y'all didn't mention.
Yeah, I've never come across it, mate.
I pulled the 210-pound division, and I took third place behind John Brezink, Ron Bath, me, and then Steve Morneau. So I was a 20-year-old kid then, right? And then, so I go to the World Championships later that year. I fly out to Edmonton, and that was at the awesome mall, that mall that had the indoor water park and all that stuff. Super cool. But I ended up finishing 6th or 7th in the 220 class. But I remember I beat Mike Gould there. So, I was a 20-year-old kid, and I was getting some pretty big wins. You know what I mean? So
we won people's radars at that. You got to be on people's radars if you're getting wins like. Gould was pretty big time at that. You had that whole crew. Garth Carlson was another one, and John Roberts.
I was a young kid. Steve Stanaway made fun of me and called me Bill Clinton all the time because I was from Arkansas. You know what I'm saying? So they just, everybody, they knew me, and I was dedicated, and I just kept showing up. But yeah, so 93, fun year, got third at,
who did you model yourself on? Who were the guys? Who did you model yourself on, Mike? Who were your early heroes?
Robert Redden's a guy that trained me early.
For those who don't know, Robert was a bad man as well. Robert had all the gifts. Massive hand, long arm, so explosive. He was so like a giant, Craig Tooley in his early days. Craig's modelled a lot, to be fair, on Robert, stylistically.
Robert trained him in the beginning. Robert trained him in the beginning. He had a huge hand, nasty form, good wide lats, small, just a thin frame from his waist down, but just one of those like roughneck, strong looking dudes. You know what I'm saying? And so that was in 93. That's who I got started with. 94, I ended up going up to I traded in my car and I get a brand new Camaro. So instead of flying, I put a down payment on the car, and instead of flying, the down payment goes on the car, and my dad and I drive 1,505 miles to Windsor Lock, Connecticut for the AAA Nationals. And that's the first time I ever competed left-handed at like a national, because it's the first time they ever had left-handed at a national championship. And I'm sure I'd done some left-handed smaller tournaments, but they had left-handed on Friday and right-handed on Saturday. Well, I couldn't stand to watch people arm wrestle without me, so I went ahead and jumped in the left-handed, and I did horrible. But the next day, like Eric Stark was the man at 187.
Yeah, I remember Eric Stark.
I was all cut up, pretty boy model.
He had some arms on him, didn't he?
Big jacked up arms. Between him and Ron Bath back in the day, those were the two best looking arms in North American arm.
Yeah, he had some arms on him, mate.
Big time. So that day, George Gibbons was there, Eric Stark. I end up losing just a brutal hook match with Eric Stark. And then I go on the B side, and I end up losing a hook match to Frank Travisino. And I don't remember a foul. I think I might have fouled out. I don't remember what happened. So I was pretty bummed out because I just finished third at 220 the year before, and this year I think I'm finishing like 5th or something. I was pretty bummed about it. But then I come back home, and I end up moving to Baton Rouge, right? Oh, wait, no. That's a lie. I moved to Baton Rouge before that. So yeah, so 93, end of 93, after the World Championships, I moved to Baton Rouge. This was going to talk about Robert Redden. Dude, we used to arm wrestle Tuesdays and Thursdays and mostly Saturdays. Arm wrestle about 500 matches a night. There's about 15, 20 people get on his little carport there, screened-in carport, and we would just bang. Well, everyone would leave, and I would refuse to leave until Robert had beat me 100 matches in a hook. Because he was a top roller, right? Yeah. So I'd ready go, and I'd hit this dude as hard as I could, and then he would just rip me. There wasn't no slow pulling. This dude would, I mean, it's almost like he was trying to hurt me. But I was down, and I was like, you're gonna pin my arm 100 times before I leave. So I would just dive in that hook, and he'd smack me. And this was 2 to 3 nights a week for a good 6 months, man. It was horrible, you know what I'm saying? But it's that type of, pulling that got me stronger and got me, just strengthen those tendons and stuff. But then, like I said, then we moved to 94. Cool. I was real lean, 187. The next year, later that year, I was working as a waiter at Chili's. Yeah. And back then, this is 1994. I make about $500 a week cash. I'm paying all my bills. Got my own apartment. Things are good. Got the nice new car. Well, then somebody comes in and waited on me, and they said, "Hey, you should come to my gym, which was Jimbo Teens, and you should sell memberships." I'm like, "Well, what's that got?" He goes, "Oh, you make $2,000 to $3,000 a month, and get free membership." I wish that's less money I got to spend. Well, I switched over from a guaranteed job that I was really good at to selling memberships at a gym, and I just wasn't super great. I ended up getting way behind on my bills, so I ended up taking a job selling steaks, chicken, and seafood door to door in this little freezer truck. And that job was great. Like my first couple days, I made like $900. My first full week, I made like $1,500, and I was doing pretty good because I was selling that meat, boy. I was slinging some meat. But my eating habits went to crap. So I'm eating an all-you-can-eat buffet for lunch, and all-you-can-eat for breakfast, and all-you-can-eat buffet for lunch, and then at night I'm doing an extra large pizza from Papa John's and 2 garlic butters. Well, I go from 185 to 235 in 2 months. Dude, I am round, right? Like I'm a little chunky fella. So then I ended up pulling the 95 nationals that year. So that was between late 94, early 95. I'm still pulling, still competing. I'm doing pull for the hungry. I'm doing some other stuff, but I got pretty fluffy. So when I go to nationals, actually before that, I go to the. It's funny. I'm at the selling steaks, chicken, seafood. So I'm at the got my truck. I'm turning my truck in that night. I'm eating my pizza, and Tony Piccoli calls me. He's like, "Hey man, you want to go to Daytona Beach for the Yukon Jack Regionals?" Yeah. I'm like, "When?" He's like, "Oh, it's this weekend. I can be down there in 8 hours to pick you up." I'm like, "Dude, I got to make weight. I'm like I'm heavy, and I'm gonna try to make 98s." I'm like, "Shit." So I gave my pizza to my coworker. I'm like, "All right, let's roll. Come get me." They came and picked me up. We did a 20+ hour drive to Daytona in this RV, and I'm doing everything. I'm spitting. I'm not eating. I'm doing anything I can do to drop weight. I get down to 206, and I'm like, "Damn it! I don't think I'm gonna make it." You know what I'm saying? So I end up eating. So I end up get down there and I pull in the supers, the 199 and up class. Because year before it was 0 to 190. This year they went to 198. So Brzezinski dropped from the supers down to 198 class. So Bill Brzezinski had won the Yukon Jack Los Angeles qualifier. John ends up winning the Daytona 198. I end up losing to Jerry Cataret on fouls, and I think I lost to Eric Lefel. So I'm finishing, I don't know, somewhere in the top 10. I don't remember what it was, 7, 8, something like that. Well, then, so I told you I'm about 235. So I think that was in, might have been May. So in June, I fly to Boston to the Northeast qualifier, right? And I don't have a hotel, nothing. I just catch a flight. I fly out there. I end up sleeping behind the transfer case at the airport. I go behind the thing. I sleep there. I get on the subway. I go down to Faneuil Hall. I end up showering at one of the arm wrestlers' rooms. And quality. I'm 22 at this time, right?
Yeah, you don't bother, are you?
So I end up arm wrestling there. I think I end up 6th place. I lose to like Bill Buzzsaw Solzman, maybe Reggie Ward or somebody else. I don't remember. And but I'm looking down at that middleweight class, and George Givens wins the middleweight. So you got Bill Brzezinski wins, John Brzezinski wins, then George Givens. I'm like, man, if I can get down to 198, I can win that class. So I go home, and in like 33 days, I lose 35 pounds. So what's crazy is, so this is a funny story. I take my rent money, like my rent's due, but I take my rent money and I hop in my car and I drive to Chicago for the Yukon Jack Midwest Regionals. I pay $750. I don't have a hotel again. I think I slept in my car on the, I just pulled off the side of the interstate and went to sleep. And I ended up crashing with somebody. I don't know. But I ended up winning that class undefeated. So I beat Celieres, Bongard, John Brezink Sr. But I don't have to say senior because, it's John Brezink, right? And then I beat Garth Carlson.
Another good pull.
Carlson in the finals, right? So I go undefeated. So that was my claim to fame in 1995. Yeah, I got my Yukon Jack shirt. I went home. I got an airbrush. 1995 Midwest Regional Champion. But that was pretty much my claim to fame. A month later, I go to South Street Seaport for the finals, the World Finals. I actually caught that footage the other day. I lost on fouls to Garth Carlson, the guy who I just won. And beat twice at the other event. And I'm getting fouled out as I'm transitioning to pressing. Like, this match almost over, I foul out. And then Koba somebody from Georgia.
The Georgian. Yeah.
He puts me out. But then I remember after that event, we're just running around. We're in New York City having a blast. Aaron Lindell and I are on one of those where they tie down the ships, those big pillar things. And we're just banging all night on top of those things. We're arm wrestling on every surface we could get. But no, man, that was my early days. I mean, I started in 1990 wrist wrestling, started arm wrestling in 92, sacrificed a lot, did whatever I had to do, and just loved it, man. Just fell in love with the sport.
Now, obviously, when mostly what we've talked about there is your domestic stuff. Everybody goes the same route, You always start with the North America. I know you went to the Worlds in Edmonton.
Yeah.
When did you start? Because now the later versions of you have been really well known for traveling far and wide, being involved in all kinds of competition from WAF Worlds through to international super matches. But where were your sort of early tastes of international competition? So sort of late 90s and early.
Okay, so 2000s when I won my first nationals.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. I started wrist wrestling in 1990, started arm wrestling in 1992, and it took me till 2000 to win a national title. Funny thing is, when I won a national title in 2000, I won every year for 10 years, either right or left-handed, whether AAA or Unified or whatever. Every year I won a national title because at the time I felt like trying to go get sponsors, I needed to represent myself as the reigning national champion. So if I wasn't the reigning champion, I couldn't sell myself as well. So every year from 2000 on until I blew my elbow apart in 2010, the 2010 nationals I didn't go to. I went 2000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all those years.
And at that time, you were obviously very much the man.
No, I mean, I was pretty good. We'll get to that. So in 2000, I go to Bakersfield, California for AAA nationals. I end up taking third behind Jacob Abbott and Robert Redden. But then they do the Unified Nationals in Denver in August. I go out there, I win the 198 right and left and the 220 left, which qualifies me to go to Finland. But I didn't have the sponsorship money, so I never went. 2001, I go out to Laughlin, and I win the 198 right. I lose the 198 left to Robbie Token. I don't go to AAA Nationals that year because I pulled that Tony Celeste event out there in Laughlin as well. So I was qualified to go to Poland. Didn't have the sponsorship money, so I didn't go. In 2002, I missed weight again at 198. Like, I'm cutting weight, right? We're driving. This is hilarious. James Smith's with me, Ricky Cantrell, handful of other people. I'm in this old Ford Aerostar minivan that I had stripped down and had them John Deere yellow paint that thing because I was going to put advertisements on the side of it. That's going to be a turning vehicle. Well, this thing was not in great shape. And we get halfway to Illinois because that's where it was. It's just outside of St. Louis. Tony Coley put it on. And I'm cutting weight, but I think it was in like Sykeston, Missouri or something. This thing breaks down on us. Like, we got heat. It's 100-something degrees. We got heat coming in the bottom. This thing's overheat. It breaks down on us. So we have to rent a car And the stress of that, I'm like, screw it. I mean, so I go ahead and pull the 220s weighing about 208. Well, Robert Redden was there. Mike Bowling was there. Rob Sasso. Pretty strong 220 division, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Bowling told me afterwards, it's funny. So I'm win round 1, round 2, then round 3, it's me and Robert Redden. Now, Robert Redden's the guy that trained me, right?
Yep.
Now, 2001, I end up beating Robert left-handed at a Tournament of Champions event in St. Louis.
Yep.
A few weeks later, I end up beating Jason Reamer and Jacob Abbott both at the Arnold Classic, but I lose to Mike Elias, and then Robert Redden beats Mike Elias, so he wins it, and I take third. But so and where were we at? 2002. So I end up pulling Robert, and Robert's the top roller. I'm the hooker. We slipped on the strap, and I fold Robert's hand back, freaking everybody out because I'm supposed to be the inside guy. Robert's the top roller, and I just top roll the crap out of him. Bowling comes up to me after. He says, "Holy crap, dude! I was gonna hook Redden and top roll you. Then I saw you top roll Redden, so I have no idea what to do." Long story short, I ended up beating Mike Bowling twice in the finals to be the 220 national champion. Now, at this time, Bowling thought it was a huge disgrace to lose to me. Like, I can't believe I lost to Michael Todd, right? Because, I was the 198 guy coming up.
Yeah.
And Bowling was wrecking folks. I mean, Bowling was right there in the mix with all the top 220 guys. So, honest to God, I don't think Mike Bowling's ever beat me right-handed because we used to pull the same weight. So that was a big win for me. Winning the 220 right-handed unified nationals was a big win. So that year, it qualifies me for the World Championships. It's also going to be in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
The week before is the GNC Show of Strength. Now I'm cutting again, trying to make 198s, and this is going to be a little shady. I'm a little heavy. And Jason Reamer comes up behind me and pulls up on my shorts for me to make weight. And Jim Bryan sees us and calls us out big time. Reamer wanted me in the class because I had beat him last, so he wanted to beat me. If he was going to be the champion, he wanted to beat me to it. Or Jim Bryan was not cool with that, so they didn't let me pull the open. If you didn't make weight, you don't get to compete. So I didn't even pull the 199 up for nothing. So I'm out. So after the event, I'm on the side table with Ron Bath. And we're banging pretty hard. And I feel pop, pop, pop to my elbow. I'm like, oh, hell. The next week, I pull the World Championships. And I have no inside. I'm hitting everybody outside and trying to, if I hit you inside, it's going to be a flash spin. I have no sustaining power inside because of whatever I had in my elbow. End up taking second to maybe a Georgian or a Russian or something. Mm-hmm. But I beat everybody else, and I ended up. So that was. I feel like had I not done that stupid stuff the week before, what it was is I over dehydrated to make weight.
And that was the Worlds in Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Matt Gardner, I think, beat Marcio Rabosa in the 110 kilos. Yeah. Artem Clemenko. Was a bad dude.
Yeah.
He was 176 right and left, wrecking fools. That kid was awesome. But so that's
like you went across. I mean, it was around that time. I'm trying to get a bead on things because when I pulled you guys at Lake Tahoe,
2001,
that was 01. Yeah. So then you were in my class. You were in 98.
Yeah, we were both in 98.
Where you were obviously, and that was a stacked event. You had Brezink there. You had Kenai was there. Marcio was there. Ron Bath, Bongo.
Sveton jumped up in our class. Sveton jumped up to 98.
There was a load of top competitors there, and I remember when I landed there because I had a big reputation in Europe and so on. People coming up to me and going, a lot of the American guys going, "Oh, Michael Todd's in your class. Michael Todd's in," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know Michael, but he's bigger." No, Michael Todd's in your class, Michael Todd. And I'm thinking, okay. So I was thinking at that time it's going to be like Svetan's going to be Yoshi. It's going to be there was others, but it's going to be this guy. But I remember we spoke at that, and you said that you felt like you were a little depleted at that weight. And then the next time I remember seeing you really focused and going for it, you were just a bigger man.
Yeah.
Sort of went.
I lifted weights for 4 years to stay small. Like I trained, lifted weight to not gain any muscle to stay small, but I still trained. Right. I felt like I was one of those guys that was real self-conscious because I was short and fat growing up, so I wanted to have abs, and I felt like the only way I could have abs is if I was 198 pounds. So I just lifted weights to stay small up until 2004. And then in 2004, I got to 209. It was just chiseled.
But because at that time when you pulled with me at the Tahoe event, you were like a male model. You looked
I was pretty fit. Yeah.
Yeah, you look.
But that's
like
what I
more
like to
like
be, man.
I
felt better about myself if I was, this fit and lean. I had like a 30-inch waist or something, But my frame, I'm a big guy, I mean, that was real hard for me to maintain that size,
So you definitely feel much more comfortable. I felt much more comfortable when you got that weight to around the 220, 225.
Oh, there'd be times. See, people didn't see it. There'd be times between 2000 and 2004 that I'd be 240 pounds. Because I just would eat for a month or two and wouldn't leave the house.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Oh no, you're ripping." Like, you hadn't seen me. You know what I'm saying? Because that was like pre-video conferencing. There just weren't pictures of me being fat, right? Because but yeah. So you cracked me that day. I could not get you into a hook to save my life. You busted my hand. You won. I took second. I think Yoshi took third.
Yeah.
That's on to fourth, maybe.
You know what?
I
was really picture that day. I remember because after that there was some Yoshi and Svetan ended up having a crazy war, 7-minute match, and there was people saying, "Oh, Neil wouldn't have won, or Matt wouldn't have won if that." What it's me off really bad. I put Svetan into the losers bracket like that.
Yeah.
Like. So he wouldn't have met. People don't know he and Yoshi met on the B side.
Yeah.
Courtesy of my ass.
Yeah.
Then when he came up, I whacked both of them into the B. They met on the B side, had that crazy war. Because one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and when I knew exactly how committed you were, I had to get this in, mate, was after they had the 7-minute match. We're talking. And you want to know a competitive individual. People say to me, "Oh, Mike's so competitive." You have no idea how competitive he is. Because he knew I was in the final and he was trying to keep himself fresh for the final. I came over to him and said, "Dude, take it easy on Yoshi after this 7-minute match." He won and he came through to pull Mike. Mike drilled that mother.
Dude,
I mean,
I hit it so hard.
Oh my God. It was like, "Wah!" And then gave me a lot of. I have that on video. It's like, "Wow!" And then turns to me, he's like, "You're next."
Dude, I wanted to get you so bad. I just could not get a hook, man. Your hand and wrist were too strong. See, here's the deal. I always had a strong arm. I just didn't train my hand and wrist. I don't know why. Knowing what I know now, if I could go back and tell the younger me to focus on your hand and wrist.
You'd have been like, "King's move this son of a..."
King's moving, baby.
Who's that? Oh, mate, that was ace, though. When you cannoned it. And
Dude, I'm going back and watching some of my old stuff. Like even the 2008 Arm Wars at Battleground. Dude, I was a hyped up dude.
Oh, mate.
I would rev myself up pretty heavy before a match.
Really, but we're gonna roll up this episode right there, and then while I gather my momentum again, thinking about that. And guys, if you like what we do, please like, share, subscribe, and we will be right back with episode 2 with the monster Michael Todd very soon. Take it easy, peeps.